All right, today, real quick, I'm gonna try and knock this out. It's actually never real quick. Doing this stuff, and gonna make battery tray for rat rod. So basically, throwing it in the back here. Um, right down in this area right here. So I decided that I'm basically gonna cut out a square, 10 inches by 10 inches. So I'm gonna need 4 pieces, and then I'm gonna be using angle iron, so I'm gonna have to notch that to make it all kind of slide together. Um, so I'm gonna cut my pieces now, and then mark it for my notches so they butt together, be able to weld them up. And then we'll move on to the next step of setting it up in the truck. All right, got my 4 sections cut. Um, Basically laid it down here on the ground, set the battery in it, make sure measurements and all that are going to be good. And now marking basically where these channels are going to run. That's basically going to allow me to slide this in and weld it all up. I could probably just leave it like it is and weld it up, and it'll just have this step in it right here to where it's up a little higher. And honestly, that's really perfectly fine and not a big deal. Or I could reverse it to where these are over the top. This is what I'd probably have to do with the way it would sit on the frame over there would be to get this one down first, and these would have to come on top. So I mean, realistically, I could save myself probably quite a bit of work and just leave it like that, because I kind of planned on putting a plate in the bottom of it anyways to completely close it up, give it a little more sturdiness, things like that. So I guess now I'm just faced with the dilemma of, do I cut it, notch it, bring it in to where it's all kind of flat and smooth, or just kind of leave it as it is. Either way is going to work. Either way is going to be functional. The cutting and notching is going to be a little bit cleaner, smoother, things like that. But it is a rat rod. So yeah, I'll just ponder on that for a minute and decide which way and which route I'm actually going to go. And then, yeah, we'll just do it. And we'll see where we're at. Alright, I've notched it out. I decided to go that route as far as notching it instead of just overlapping it, just because it is cleaner, and you know, the edges won't stick up past each other, things like that. So I thought you really only have to cut 2 pieces for this to work, like so. I was like, it's not going to be too bad, just cut it up, make it look better. So yeah, so there's where we're at now. Everything's going to be kind of sitting flush with each other and have a place to weld them up there. I'm basically gonna clean all this up now so it can be welded and then painted. So I've got this new flapper disc here by Benchmark Abrasives. I did recently get their cutoff disc, and I was using basically just Harbor Freight stuff. Their old disc used to be fairly decent, but I feel like they've changed and gotten worse and really kind of stuck. And these are a lot thinner, making your measurements and cuts better. I do feel pretty good about the price and the way these perform. So Benchmark abrasives. And I haven't tried the flapper disc yet, so I'm getting ready to on this. Just showing you the next step in the process for getting this cleaned up. And once it's all cleaned up, we'll get the welder out and start making some welds. All right, so that's kind of it on the welding. Ground it all down. I didn't go down as far as I could. The flapper disc on those Benchmarks abrasive, they were 40 grit. I'm not gonna say I'm that impressed with flapper disc. Cutoff wheels, I like flapper disc. I wouldn't say, you know, gotta have them, but that's just my opinion. And still a little bit hot, but I threw some welds on this thing, mostly on the back of the bottom side, so I can get the grinder in there and grind them down smooth. I did throw some beads on the inside, just a couple tacks in the corners, and then to the edges to where I could grind down. Kind of right here. And did all 4 corners on the outside, then slung some beads down through there. So I'll come back with the grinder and clean all those up as far as that goes. And once that's cleaned up, I'll spray it off with some brake cleaner, get all the dust and crap off of it, and shoot a coat of black paint on it so it doesn't rust up right away. So that's going to be the next step on this tray for the battery. And then we'll work on mounting it in the truck. All right, over here, kind of mocking things up to get it sitting in here. Basically, butt it up against here, run a bead down here on the frame. But I do want something to support it on the outside a little bit. Obviously, there's not really a whole lot in this area. You'd have to come way out here. Battery doesn't weigh a ton for what it is. I think it's going to be perfectly fine. Welding it here and here, and I'm going to put something at this back corner to go to this bed frame. I was initially thinking I have a big thick piece of flat stock that would come up from here, tuck in behind here, but between this and the bed, getting up underneath there to get a decent weld, I don't think is really gonna work out too well for me. So I believe I'm just gonna cut a piece of 1x1 square stock and put it to the outside of this, and then come up to the outside of this. So we're going to be able to run a weld down through here on the sides, and then down through here on the sides to hold it. I think that's going to be plenty for what we need to do here. So this is what I have laying around. This is initially what I was going to strap to the back and go up. I just don't think I'm going to have much room to run a weld on that. So here's the 1x1 that I'll just cut 9.5 inches out of and weld it to the outside, kind of like I mentioned. So I kind of believe that's going to be my best bet for getting a good weld and bracing the back side of it there. So I think welding that in there, getting it where it needs to go, it's pretty level. Everything's looking pretty good where it's at right there. And then just coming up here on the side, I believe we'll be all right. All right, finishing up in here on this battery tray, and yes, I did burn the crap out of both my forearms after I welded and tried crawling underneath there to get to the bottom side for this bar, and the light was up here and it was shining in my face, and I kept trying to reach up and around to get it and burned myself probably 2 or 3 times. It's kind of like, ouch, that hurt, let's do it again. Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. But whatever, got the job done. It's in there, it's solid. Paint's still a little wet. It was a little wet when I came back from grabbing a bite to eat. But I got it welded here. Obviously this 1x1 square tube welded here and then down to there, and it's solid. I'd do a weird flex on you and stand on it if the paint wasn't still wet, but it's mounted. The battery tray is done. I'll set the battery here, drill some holes, or however I decide to strap it down later, I'll just go ahead and modify that and do what I need to do there. But that is the battery tray, and I did add these little cross beams in there just for the thought of being kind of under the vehicle and road debris or things flying up, it's not going to hit that, stuff like that, and just a little extra support. Probably wasn't really necessary, but I went for it, and there it is. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and maybe gave you a few tips and tricks on what to do if you're going to build a battery tray, and of course what not to do. So hope you guys have a good one. Check you later.